All right, great Monday morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Cesar Masporo Jr. with Manufactured Home Sales Mastery, and with our 15 minutes of mastery that we do each and every day to get your day started off on the right foot, giving you some information, inspiration, and motivation so that you can attack the day. And today is episode number 375 of our 15 minutes of mastery. And today is also Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, their families. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you to all for your sacrifice. And for those that have served before and are no longer with us, thank you very much. Also, from all of us here at Manufactured Home Sales Mastery, to you and yours, we give you many, many thanks. Thank you for that. And with that in mind, today we're talking about accountability. We want to know what accountability looks like, or the lack of accountability in leadership. You know, we're talking about Veterans Day, and so many of these fine men and women all live a life of accountability each and every day as they serve. And then after that, when they leave service and they go back into civilian life, most of them carry that on. But unfortunately, in the business world, out here in real life, whether it's in school or whatever it is that you're doing, there's a lack of accountability from leadership. You know, everybody wants to be a boss, but nobody wants to actually lead the way and hold their end of the bargain up. Thomas Paine writes, "A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not be trusted by anybody." Pay attention to that. A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not be trusted by anybody. So in other words, if you are in leadership and you don't hold yourself accountable, no one should trust you. It's just that plain and simple. And I'm speaking to all the management roles out there: sales managers, general managers, operation managers, in the community space, regional sales managers, and national sales directors, everyone out there in leadership. Do you hold yourself accountable when things go wrong? Are you looking first within, and what could you have done differently to avoid whatever situation, to avoid your housing consultant or community manager from having made that mistake? Before we go pointing the fingers, are we looking at ourselves? Are we looking at the processes we have in place to make sure that we have done everything we possibly can in order to make sure that that does not happen? Because I tell you, I'm here to tell you from my own personal experience as a general manager, sales manager, or any type of role that I've had in manufactured home sales or before, I have been known plenty of times in the past to understand that, or to realize that there were times where I did not hold myself accountable. I did not put the responsibility on me. I tried to make it seem as they just don't get it. They're just not doing what they should be doing. It was me. It was me. I should have been better. I should have done better. I should have prepared them better. I should have just been handling things better. And it's the same thing with you out there when it comes to your leadership role. And you listen up. It just doesn't stop at leadership. For you housing consultants out there, for you community managers, everyone out there that is operating in that role, this is not the time for you to be, you see, I told you should be doing this and you should be doing that, because you have a role to play in it as well. Everyone has their own role. There's a great book by Jocko Willink. I highly suggest each one of you go out, buy it, read it, put it on Audible, whatever it is, but it's called Extreme Ownership. And in that book, Jocko Willink talks about how you are the problem. If there is an issue, it's your fault. Once we get to the point where everybody accepts fault as opposed to looking for the fault in others, the organization moves faster. The organization is more resilient. The organization is more successful, whether in combat or business or school or life. As long as everyone practices extreme ownership and they hold themselves accountable to themselves and to everyone else, that's when things just really start to move and groove and go. And that's what you're after. That's the kind of leadership and direction that everyone is looking for. Man, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Okay. We've gone through the elections almost a week ago, right? And now over the last few days, now you see the Democratic Party looking at whatever affiliation you have, so be it. Okay. But the truth of the matter is this: they're pointing fingers at each other. They're, this person's talking about that person, and this group is talking about that group, and how that person failed and this person failed. And man, the worst part about it is those that are trying to blame Biden at this point, when they're the ones who are kicking them out anyway. Nobody is taking accountability. Nobody's stopping and looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? I screwed up. I should have done this. We should have done that. We should have paid attention to these. We should have made it about this. We should, as opposed to looking for the scapegoat, pointing the fingers out. Until that party gets that fixed, they will continue to struggle and suffer and be clueless and not connect with the American people. And that's why the majority of people voted the way they did. And if you're not listening to the data, which in this case are the votes, if you're not paying attention to the votes and you're still trying to make it about everything else, oh no, wait, if this would have been, the data is telling you that you were wrong. Accept it, move on, fix it, and let's build the country back up. So anyway, now we come back to manufactured home sales. For those of you that are struggling, for those organizations out there, you retailers, you communities, and you're not on task, you're not on point, you're missing the numbers, you're not hitting the goals. What are you doing wrong? You need to go back and look and figure that out. Understand where you need to make adjustments, and include yourself in the problem, but also the solution. Be solutions oriented. Look for solutions, not for fault. It's already happened. You're already behind the 8 ball. You're not going to hit the numbers. Well, then, find a solution. Stop worrying about whose fault it was, who didn't do what over the last 10, 11 months. Fix it. And hold yourself accountable to yourself and to everyone else. Ownership, leadership, everyone alike should be doing that. Because accountability, it's the cornerstone of effective leadership, folks. I didn't realize that. And now that I own my own business and we're growing and I'm trying to develop a team as at the same time of developing other people, I understand that I need to hold myself accountable 100,000%. If something is not in place, I need to make sure it gets in place. If I've missed on something, I need to make sure it gets fixed. If we're lacking on something, I need to make sure that gets addressed. But it has to start with me. I have to be willing and able and understanding enough to admit that I let myself and my team down. And you need to do the same. That's effective leaders. Leaders should take that responsibility, not only for the successes, but especially for the problems, especially for the setbacks, right? Because that will create an environment and a culture of trust. And that's what you want. When you have trust and when you have your team continuously trying to improve because they know that, man, my boss, my leader, my go-to person will own up to the problems, to the issues. They'll run through walls for you. And those that don't, it's because they can't hold themselves accountable. And you don't want them on your team anyway. But we've got to make sure that we're being as accountable as we possibly can. Because look, up until now, we always talk about challenging the status quo, right? Because we're revolutionizing the sales culture within the manufactured home industry. Look, in some sales environments, it's easy to be able to say, hey, we missed the target this time because the market's not right, because the rain because people aren't answering the phones, because people are thinking about Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And so it's slow. It's easy to look at those external factors and do that, right? The other big one's been higher interest rates, higher prices. Look, people are buying still. People have been buying over the last 4 years, even as bad as the economy has been and as screwed up as things have gotten, people have still been buying. You just haven't been working hard enough to get them. It, again, comes back to you. your lack of effort, your lack of focus, your lack of determination and resilience to be able to keep moving forward and to keep your team inspired enough to do it. All right. So that's, excuse me, that's usually how the status quo is, right? But, excuse me, high performing organizations, here we go. They challenge this approach. They take on the responsibility, right? They focus on the things that they can control, which if your traffic is low, marketing phones, plain and simple. Do more of it. Get your team inspired to do more of it, to bring more people in, right? And they encourage accountabilities on all levels, from leadership to ownership to the sales team to back office. Everyone is accountable. That's what a high-performing organization does. That's what challenging the status quo is all about. That's what's going to help us revolutionize the industry. Stop looking for excuses. Stop looking to point the fault or put the fault on somebody else. Own it, and let's move on. Let's think of those people that are out there, and let's be better. Be accountable and keep moving forward, because when you own your roles and responsibilities, that's when you become solution oriented. That's when you're looking, look, man, okay, we can't do anything about what happened. Let's just fix it. Right? I mean, look, man, I'm married, and I'm sure that a lot of you out there are as well, or have been in a relationship. And sometimes you have discussions, let's call it, about certain things that have gone on. And at some point, you gotta decide: are we going to keep talking about this thing, or are we going to fix it and move on? Are we going to keep reflecting on what we should have done differently, or are we going to come up with a solution and keep moving forward? Well, that's what you got to do within your organization as well. Okay. And when you can do that, you inspire your team to be those kinds of people. So with that being said, what are the top 5 ways that you can use accountability to take your team to a whole nother level? First and foremost, you got to look in the mirror and lead by example. What did you mess up on? What could you have done better? What could you have changed? What could you have addressed? And how can you live that life? How can you live that life in the office and outside, so that also the people around you out there also notice that you're different and they start to act and respond to what you do? Think about what's going on right now. Less than a week, a few days after the election, look at all the change that is happening just because you have a leader in place who does not mess around. May say some crazy stuff, may throw some people, for a loop with some of the things he's saying, but at the end of the day, when you really stop to think and remove emotion from it and you listen to the message, you will see and hear that it is all about moving the country forward. And so that's why other people are responding. That's why the markets are responding. That's why other governments and other countries are responding. So lead by example, because other people will respond to your message. Set clear expectations. That's another thing, right? Set clear expectations. What do you expect, first of all, of yourself? And then what do you expect of your team? Make sure the team understands what those expectations are. Put them in writing. Go over it. Make sure that everyone has signed it. Make sure that when you do have these conversations where you're discussing performance, that you have those in place. And make sure, first of all, that your team is telling you what they expect of you as a leader. And write those down in the expectations. And you live up to it as well. So set clear expectations. Establish a feedback loop. Don't be afraid of the feedback. Man, you sometimes make mistakes. You're human. As long as you don't keep making the same mistake, and as long as you're not making that mistake intentionally, and you're not hurting people intentionally, but if it's an honest mistake and you have the feedback and you can take it, makes everything so much better. But at the same time, you also have to give feedback to your team. And it has to be constructive, not talking people down, but rather helping them understand why what they did was not the way to handle it, and how it needs to be handled, how it should be corrected. But establish that feedback loop amongst everyone, and be prepared to also, you should encourage feedback from your team. You're there to support them, to serve them. You're not there to freaking crack the whip only, or at all, really. It should be about inspiring these people to do the thing that they do. Celebrate accountability by team members. When you notice that people are being accountable, when they make mistakes and they own it, when they do great things because they were being accountable to their expectations, celebrate those things, point them out, highlight them, because they will feel better for it. So do that. And lastly, create actionable improvement plans. Look, we are here right now. These are the things we need to do in order to dig ourselves out of this hole. Let's go attack. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. You do that. I'm going to do this. And we all as a team, we know our role. Let's move forward. Now understand that it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that the office keeps moving forward. However, you each have your individual roles. And if somebody is dropping the ball on something, please don't turn around and say, well, that's his fault. That's his job. That's her job. It's everyone's job. We have assigned roles, but it's everyone's job to make sure that the direction that we're going is forward. So create those actionable improvement plans. And when you do that, and everyone works on accountability, especially leadership, you will see the huge shift. We've seen it. I've seen it with one of our clients. You keep hearing me talk about these guys, Mobile Home Masters. My gosh, the transformation that these people are making is incredible. It just continues. This past week, they did some awesome things as well. And it is just incredible to watch. And I'm so proud of those guys and inspired by them to be able to do that myself as well for our team. So continue to do that. And another way that you can do it is by continuing to grow. And the best way that you can grow is by investing in yourself. And right now is the exact time that you should do it. Look, we're 1 week away from the 2025 Path to Mastery event. All right. It's 2 days, November 18th and 19th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We've got to record in case you can't be there during the live event. You're going to get the recording. You get the workbook, everything that comes along with it. We've got 5 great industry leaders coming in and pouring into you. David Finney with Build Media, Doug Tolene with Champion Homes, Thomas Dunn, Manufactured Housing Industry of Arizona, Sergio Rios with Gold Financial Home Loans, Edward Leos, John Maxwell, Leadership Coach, and myself, all speaking to you, working with you, going through workshops on time management, leadership, professional development, and we're going to set your goals for 2025 with that actionable plan so that you can go on and crush it. And on top of that, for your one-time registration fee of only $225, you also are going to get membership in our 2025 Path to Mastery Mastermind group. You're going to meet once a month with us. We're all going to meet together once a month, and we're going to make sure we're staying on track with goals. We're going to bounce ideas off each other. We're going to create that network of professionals from all across the country who are going to work together to revolutionize the industry. Yes, we all compete, but does not mean that we cannot work together as industry professionals. And that's what we're going to do. You're going to be a part of that mastermind. And on top of that, 75% of your $225 registration goes to the American Red Cross for the Hurricane Helene and Milton Hurricane Fund. Look, you've heard me talk about this for a month on end now. 75% is going to the American Red Cross, to our Manufacture to Win fundraiser. And the other 25% are going to sponsor our industry brothers in those affected areas so that they can be with us at the event for free. Go out and register right now. ManufacturedHomeSalesMastery.com is where you'll find all the information. All right. It's our 2025 Path to Mastery event listed right there. And 75% of your registration fee goes to the Manufacture to Win fundraiser in conjunction with the American Red Cross. You're doing yourself a great favor, and you're doing a great thing for people in those affected areas. Man, let's do this together. Go sign up right now. Let's make our industry great again. Let's make it great. Let's make each other great. Go sign up. Happy Veterans Day. Go out there. Have a great week. And we'll be talking again in here tomorrow. And until then, folks, I can't wait to meet you.